know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it turnpike miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan Ludis, and today we have another incredible guest for you. He is a recently retired Air Force veteran with more than 24 years of service and the founder of the Culture Shift, where he works with organizations to cultivate leadership that is rooted in trust, humility, and purpose. And on top of that, guys, he's the author of the soon-to-release book, Lions in a Parking Lot, Leadership Lessons Filed by Positivity, Humility, and Turning the Right Way. I'm excited to bring his story to you guys. Everyone, I give you Jason Kulchar. Jason, welcome to the show. I hope I got that title right. You tell me yes or no.
Yes, you did, and I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you.
Awesome. No, yeah. Like I said prior to us recording, I got to give a shout out to Donna. She connected us. Guys, if you have not seen our interview with Donna, probably about a month or two ago right now, go through the YouTube videos. If you haven't subscribed, go subscribe to it. But me and Donna get together. We discuss the impact she's bringing to veterans. And that's where Jason came from. Like I said in the intro, he's got so many years of service. He's got the veteran aspect. But Jason, tell us about yourself. Tell us about either that experience. We'll dive into the book for sure, but give people a window into why you're here today for that matter.
Yeah, I live in Florida, originally from Michigan, and joined the Air Force when I was 18 years old. And really that has been my life, right, up until recently. And married, 3 kids,
Nice.
And they've traveled around the country at all the different places, and so it wasn't just about my service, but it was about all of their service. And it's easy when you show up somewhere as a veteran and a service member, right? Like you show up and you got friends right away. And that's not necessarily always the case with your family. And so a big shout out to my family for what they endured. And when it came time to retirement, and they decided that we were going to move to Florida near the beach and ocean, and that's where they wanted to be. So that's what we did.
Awesome. See, I love that. That's something that you don't hear too much about is obviously people thank their family and everything like that, but the true support and the shifts the family has to go through to support the veteran. And I got to say, if it's Florida with the beaches, talk about a reward because, they probably deserved it.
Yeah, there was many reasons why I decided to retire, but the biggest one was when my oldest, she's 15 now, but when she was starting middle school, she had been 5 elementary schools in 6 years. And she was just like, Daddy, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to move. And for me, that's honestly all I needed to hear to make a hard decision of, what was next for us.
Yeah, that's a great father move right there. That's awesome, right? Listening to your kids, everything like that. I give you the most credit in the world with that for the shifts that need to be made. But all the shifts to me, the experience you've had that led you to this book that's about to release for that matter. I know, to give people a window, the timing of this recording is website's about to go live. That's going to be in the YouTube description at the time of this video posting. But tell us about this book. How did it even come about? Because you have all these years of service. Is it built from that experience, or is it built from other aspects too?
It's a lot of it is built from that experience, but there are many stories that happen within that book. And first, I wrote the book based off of great advice I received from Donna and others, which was write the book that you want to read. And for me, I read a lot about leadership in particular, but usually within about the first 15 minutes, I know whether I'm going to keep reading the book or whether I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. And so for me, what I wanted to do was I wanted to write a book that was, each chapter was 8 to 12 minutes long. It was story driven. And people were like, why 8 to 12 minutes? And I was like, well, that's how long it takes to drive to the gas station or the grocery store. And I don't have to start a chapter over.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
and so, there was one story in particular, the Lions in the Parking Lot story, that really drove me to, if I ever wrote a book, that would be the title, and this is what I would do. And that was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But I was like, there's no way. Nobody would ever read this. I don't really have a story to tell. But really, the real purpose and the reason for the book is people that I've worked with told me I needed to write it.
Nice.
And so listening to them, and every time I'd have a call with them, they would be like, so where's your book? And I'm like, this isn't going to happen. Right. And in reality, it did, because of the many friends and the many people, colleagues and coworkers that pushed me to do it.
See, I like that. And it's funny. I've heard that even for myself over the years. Wow, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I think writing a book for most people in the world seems like such a tall task. How did you get the discipline to come into play? Because you have the military discipline back. Was that utilized? Because like even the motivation, like, hey, you got something here for people. How did that come to play?
It was not easy.
Yeah.
I am not like this has been a 10-year journey,
Okay. Yep.
honestly.
Mm.
And probably the last 5 or 6 years, I just would start to write things down from memory of like, hey, if I ever did like this is what it would be. And so the hard part was taking all of the content and
Hmm.
trying to figure out what it is that I'd want to write about.
Yeah.
Right? What would be the central themes of the book? What would be the chapters? Once I had that done,
Mhm.
writing the book was easy.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
the actual writing piece of taking the content and putting it into, I wrote the book in about 5 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
The content took about 7 years.
I was just gonna say exactly, right? That's awesome. No, I love
Yeah.
that. No, that's cool. And I like, that whole factor right there, the motivation from other people coming in, like, hey, you have something here. It shows that, your story inspires people. And that's what they felt in you, where it's like, hey, you're writing it for them because they always gave you a thumbs up. This is the right thing you should do. But the beauty of that is, I think all of us in the world overlook the impact we have on others. And then to really hear it, like, hey, you have something that they've learned from, give it to everyone else. And now when you put it into a book, everything's technology nowadays, AI, all this kind of stuff, but nothing can touch the fact your personal experience is puts on the paper. And then someone reads that or they hear that and they grow from it, they learn from it because it's what you went through. It's what your experience has built in them, for that matter.
Yeah. And, and when I wrote it,
Yep.
I did it from the perspective of, hey, this isn't just, I didn't want people to read and be like, well, he just talks about himself and
Yeah.
how
Mhm.
great he was, right? No, I talk about the missteps, the mistakes, the times where I didn't get it right. But
Yep.
then I also spend quite a bit of time in the book in some of the storytelling talking about the people, the leaders who had a significant impact on me
Yep.
and what they did well
Mm.
that really inspired me to be better. And so
Right.
it's multiple different angles, different stories, and
Yeah.
very short and to the point.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. Is there, obviously you have in the book, but is there a window into either the mistakes along the way or the lessons you learned along the way that you can give to our audience right now? Either or, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, so the title, Lines in a Parking Lot, some might say, how in the world is that even remotely aligned with being a leadership book? And I think my style has always been fueled on like positivity,
Hmm.
a humility, and being able to stand up and do the right thing, which is not easy, right? It's
Yeah.
not easy to admit when you at fault or you didn't do the right thing,
Hmm.
especially to your team. It's not easy to maybe do the hard thing in the face of adversity or standing up to a leader or a boss or a peer who
Right.
um, is acting a certain way. And so those are not easy things, and they're things that I wanted to write about. But
Mm.
the Lines in the Parking Lot story really happened about 10 years ago, and
Okay.
I found myself in a position where unfortunately my boss was removed from her position, and so I was elevated into that command role.
Hmm.
And the first thing I did was I had town halls, right? It was 1,000 people. I met with 200 at a time, and I
Wow.
asked a question that I had learned from a boss, which was, hey, what is it that I can do for you?
Mm.
And we're in West Texas. It's the middle of winter. It's 6:30 in the morning, and they were like, "Can we just get lines in our parking lot?" And literally, I was like, "Really? Like this is
Yeah.
what you want?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah. When we come out for lunchtime, like people are parked all over the place, and we can't leave."
Yeah.
And so we got them lines in a parking lot, and it turned into a really big deal. And
Yep.
I tell more about that in the book. But what it taught me was, as a leader,
Hmm.
you can solve the problems that you think you should solve,
Hmm.
but in reality, you probably should solve the problems that your team that needs you to solve.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
and oftentimes those two things are completely different. And you really should ask your team or those that you've been charged to lead
Yep.
what you can do for them and what you can do to make their life easier.
Yeah, there's a lot of power there. Lines in the parking lot, the more you expand on it, just shows obviously it's something someone brought to you that they wanted to see a change done with. But even just the metaphor of the lines in the parking lot, it provides the guidelines for your team. Like you said, it's leadership, it's trust, it's all these factors that teams need, organizations need for sure. But any individual listening right now, that line in your own life in the parking lot is what allows you to keep moving forward. It gives you the, I don't want to say blinders in your life, but it allows you, oh, hey, this is the path, or this is how far I can go. Rule book, essentially. So as much as it started in the lines of a parking lot, literally that's a metaphor for life in itself.
Yeah, it provides structure,
Right?
right? In
Exactly.
whatever situation that you're dealing with, and there's many different aspects that I write about, but
Yeah.
um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. So in that, where you get to, go to organizations, help them out and everything with these concepts, cultivate leadership. Give us a window into that for Matt. The culture shift for that matter. One, incredible last name, incredible connection with that whole concept, because that's what's needed more than ever now. But give us a window in. So this book kind of gives people, it gives them the toolbox, but it's a taste of what they can experience from you in the organization too. What's that like?
that's right. One organization I had the opportunity to work with, I, they can come to me, but what I really do is I want to spend time with the leaders and say,
Nice.
what is it that you need?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And where are you struggling? Where are your pain points? What is it that you need me to help you solve? And then I build the program
Mhm.
around what they're asking so that
That's
I'm not walking into every organization saying, hey, here's your solution, because
yeah.
every organization is different. Every
Mhm.
organization requires different solutions to even maybe some of the same problems.
Right.
And so it really is getting a feel for the culture of that organization
Right.
and what we can do to help them get better and thrive and help
Yeah.
their employees feel like they really belong.
See, I like that because that's a personal approach. And to your point, a lot of people come into the speaking world or organization world for that matter with like, oh, I have the magic pill. I have the magic cure. Here's it's going to work for you. And yes, there are some concepts that I believe can work universally for everyone, but to have the personal piece and come in with the questions. So your question, hey, what can I help you with? What is a struggle? What can I bring to the table here? Most people bring you or other people in for them to tell you, so we overlook the fact that, wait, I have my own answers. I just need someone to bring the structure, lines in a parking lot, right? So I give you the most credit for that, because for most people going into an organization, it's, oh, he's going to come in and fix everything. It's like, no, you're going to fix everything. I'm just going to show you X, Y, and Z, right?
Right. Yeah. It starts with listening, right? It
Exactly.
starts with being able to spend the time with a team and really, like you said, lead them to the water, show them that they already have the ability to be successful. They have what it takes to lead the organization. Sometimes it just maybe works
Yep.
on the communication, works on the transparency, the alignment, the
Yep.
ability to demonstrate humility to your team, right? Whatever those things are,
Exactly.
there's some key aspects that really sometimes we don't do a good job. I
Yeah.
think no matter the organization where you're at,
Mhm.
we don't do a good job as we promote people, also showing them how to lead.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, I love that. And you mentioned trust, humility, and purpose. You just mentioned humility to us right now. How do those come into play in the organizational approach? Because I think those three pieces are so powerful and they're so needed in any organization. However, when people get a job in an organization, oh, I have this is my mission, this is my goals, this is what I have to do. More often than not, those three factors, trust, humility, and purpose, are overlooked, but they're so powerful and they can't be.
Yeah, and I think trust. There's many different aspects, right? But I think, and this is where I think it's a tailored approach because, in a personal approach, one team that I recently worked with, the issue with the trust for that team and organization was communication and transparency,
Yeah.
right? Another conversation I had was about strategy and alignment and purpose, and so there's many different ways for you to develop trust within your organization, doing the things that you say you're going to do,
Right.
right? Like, a leader, was leading the team and wasn't doing the things
Mhm.
that they said they were going to do, right?
Right.
What a way to drive trust into the ground quicker than not following through, right? And so,
Yeah.
um, that's a very broad answer, but I think when you start talking about what can erode trust in an organization, that's why it's so important to understand the organization
Yep.
and the culture of that team, because there's many different things that can erode trust and
Yeah.
everything that's foundational to success.
For sure, right? And I emphasize those 2 points, especially communication. That in itself, communication and lack of listening. If you're a leader on a team or leading a team and you're not actually communicating what the problems are or what you're feeling or trying to figure out what they're feeling and listening, you're running the team into the ground. I've seen that firsthand in even my own life experiences and whatnot, where I'm sitting there racking my brain. So why are there so many struggles with the communication factor? But that's where the trust is built. That's where the humility is built. The purpose is built. And to emphasize to everyone listening and viewing right now, I love the military background with the leadership piece. I got a really good friend. Shout out to Joel. He's a state trooper, but he was a Marine for however many years. And he's going back to school to get his master's in leadership. So I bring that up now to people right listening, because leadership is becoming such a need area. So for Jason to bring that to an organization, to a team, to an individual, whatever it is, it's becoming something that's so necessary because it was such a lack for so long. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think your communication piece, I think the thing where I see people struggle the most
Mhm.
is the need to be transparent,
Mm. Yep.
right? Like, and that's such an important aspect of communication and being able to make sure your team knows, right? Like what's happening in the organization, why we're making the decisions that we're making, and
Mhm.
not allowing them just to think on their own. Like, that sounds bad, but like think on their own, and hey, this decision was made by the leadership.
Mhm.
You haven't communicated it. You're not being transparent about the why.
Yep.
So we're gonna create our own why. And
It's true.
oftentimes like those are misaligned, and then you start to erode that trust, and the communication breakdown, and
Yeah.
people wanting to be there or not be there. The culture of the organization suffers.
Yep.
Um,
Right. Do you find that in a lot of organizations, the leaders of the team need to come down to the team's level? And that's where the communication is needed. But to your point right there with the transparency, where, hey, like leadership just made a decision up here, the team isn't aware of it. So they're on this path and the team veers off. If the leader came down and was able to be on their level to communicate, it builds all those areas you touched on, but then it allows the entire team to follow leadership for that matter. Do you see that as a hurdle popping up more and more?
I do. I think that it goes back to your point when you were talking about the importance of communication, and the issues that you see around it. Right, you got to figure out what the best way is that your team can listen, can
Yeah.
hear you, can understand you, and you can't just communicate in the same way. Everybody hears differently, everybody learns differently, and so you probably need to find multiple different ways to be able to communicate to your team, and you probably need to bring yourself down to that level to do so.
For sure. Right. I love that. And if we go back to your book now, are these pieces discussed to at least an extent in your book?
They are right.
Yeah.
I talk about the first thing I talk about in the book is in order to lead others, you need to understand the things that make you tick and how you are as a leader, right?
Right.
Where are your struggles?
Yep.
Where are the things that you're good at? How do you develop them? How do you understand them?
Yep.
And then we get into, okay, now that you have that, how do you develop a philosophy and communicate that philosophy to others, knowing that how you lead a team of 10 and in 10 or 15 years, like your
Mhm.
philosophy and how you lead has to evolve, right?
True.
Technology has changed.
Yep.
The business has probably changed. The environment has changed. What's being
Right.
asked of you has changed. So
Yeah.
I think those are two very important aspects when we start talking about leadership,
Mhm.
to be able to do that before you can do anything else.
I really agree with that, and I love that. I have when I go speak to different audiences and whatnot. One of my talks is called "The Blueprint to a Confident Leader," and it's essentially getting people to understand what makes a great leader. What makes a confident leader, yes, but what makes a great leader in the sense of, yes, your mindset, yes, your decision making skills, your accountability, and so on and so forth. A couple other points, but to that, and to emphasize your point now, the only way you can lead others is to figure out how to lead yourself. It's you against you until it's you and you. And then when you realize that you are your big support because you understand how this ticks, you can then bring that communication, that confidence, that trust, that humility, that purpose that you found in yourself as a personal leader to your team. And then they resonate with that confidence, that energy. Wow, he really believes in me. Wow, he can really communicate that to me. Have you found that?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about one thing that you just said, and we were
Mhm.
talking about too, is that I've had a conversation with a few leaders in the past throughout
Mhm.
my career, and um, I'll go back to, I'll see something happening, right, and providing some mentoring and coaching, and I'll say, hey, look, like, so what made you think that your team would respond to
Mm,
that type of leadership?
Yep.
And they're like, well, that's how I was treated when I was a young leader.
Look at that.
Well, how did that make you feel? How did you like that? Well, I hated it.
Mm,
Now is your opportunity to make the change,
right.
right? If you didn't like being treated that way, if you didn't feel like being micromanaged or talked down to,
Yep.
like now's probably not the time to do those things to the team that you're expecting or being asked to lead.
Yeah. Oh, I love that because it comes back to how did you feel when you were treated that way?
Right.
That's leader, that's teams, but that's actually any other area of life when you're around other people. So, in a sense, to your major point earlier of being transparent, you got to be transparent with yourself. You got to get real with yourself and realize, like, oh wait, I never liked it when my supervisor used to talk down to me. Why am I talking down to everyone else? It's an unconscious learned behavior if we dive into the psychology of it, but all right, well, if you become aware that, oh, wait, that actually didn't make me feel good, it's probably not going to make anyone else feel good just as much. It's
Right.
probably not.
Exactly right.
Yeah. No, I love it, Jason. That's perfect. With your book, give us another little window in that people you'll get a little bit of taste of prior to hopefully purchasing the book or listening to the book, whatever it is. But what's a veteran story during all your services that you've used to really help people understand this book for that matter? What's an experience that you had?
Oh, and there's probably 30 to 40 stories that are in
Okay.
this book, to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, and very short to the
Yep.
point. They can all be expanded, right? But I think that any story that you tell can be 25 minutes,
Yeah.
but what's the point that you make it for, right? And
Yep.
so that's how these have been done.
Mm,
I think the last chapter is one that I talk about self-care and
mm,
resilience, right?
yep.
And your ability to battle back in significant life events. And one of the things that I've repeatedly talked to teams that I've mentored or been in a room with, and one of the things I think leaders are done is you grow, especially in the military, and if something bad happens on your team,
Mhm.
what do you do? Right.
Yeah.
I think we do a decent job of knowing the agencies to make a phone call to, or how to get help. But I'll always challenge them with, so what about when you're leading a team
Mm,
and something really bad happens to you?
mm,
Right. And
yeah.
and so, that was my situation when I was a commander in the Air Force.
Okay.
Um, you know, my wife got sick, she was pregnant, we had our son, and he passed away.
Oh,
And
wow.
like that just I was never ready for that, right? I
Yeah.
was ready to help other people. I was never ready to, how do I help myself? How do I help my family in a moment where I'm still being asked to lead an organization?
Gotcha.
And so that moment right there taught me that we really need to help leaders understand the importance of how do you take care of yourself in
Yeah.
whatever way that you need to be able to take care of yourself,
Right.
because those moments, you're not immune from those moments, bad things
Yeah.
happening. So
Oh, exactly. Wow. One, I'm so grateful you told us that story. I'm so sorry to hear that. In that, when you're writing that, you're expressing that emotion, that story, do you give points to people to how they can get through negative situations and stay, in essence, positive, but to stay on the right track, whether it's leadership, whether it's something else?
yeah, I do in that chapter. I talk about um, that part of that chapter. My story, that's part of it, right? There are
Yeah.
other aspects of it, but I talk about how I got the help I needed,
Hmm.
who I relied on, the fact that me going to get help wasn't me just saying like, hey, guess what, I think I need help. No,
Yeah.
it was somebody I worked with saying, I'm taking you to the doctor so that
Gotcha.
you can get some of the help you need, like it's time to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you need to be able to have those relationships where even as a leader, right? Like oftentimes we hear leadership is lonely.
Hmm.
No, I disagree. Leadership is only lonely when you don't create connections with the people that you're leading or the peers that you're surrounded by, right?
Right.
And where
Yep.
they really know when something's not right, they know that they need to reach out and take care of you just like you would take care of them.
For sure. Do you find that when you go talk to teams, a lot of leaders there's a gap there where they don't really have that rapport connection, relationship, I should say?
Yeah, I think so. I think and you can walk in and immediately see,
Yeah.
right? You can see when you walk into an organization, where there is this relationship and you can see that the leader of that organization has really connected with, and you
Yep.
can see the organization where that's not happening.
Mm,
And I think that the organizations where that does happen is where you see success, high performing teams,
yep.
and things really taking off at a high level.
For sure. Now let me ask you this question: have you seen a team or organization that you worked with where the leader kind of runs it with an iron fist, and you were brought in, and you kind of have to call them out on it? Have you ever had that experience, for that matter?
I have, I
Yeah.
have, honestly, multiple times in my
Yeah.
career.
I
I
believe it.
write about some of those in the book.
Okay. Yep.
Um, you know, and that takes courage,
Yeah.
right? And in the book, I talk about one specific person and how she's probably the most courageous leader I've ever had the opportunity to serve with.
Yeah.
But I think that's another thing that I see a lot of leaders, lack is
Hmm.
the courage to stand up and do the right thing. Hence
Yep.
the name of the title of the book,
Yep.
knowing that there is potentially going to be significant pushback against you and
Yeah.
possibly even your career.
It's true.
But at the end of the day, as a leader, you need to be able to look yourself in a mirror, put your head down on a pillow at night,
Yeah.
knowing that you did the right thing.
For sure. Right. Exactly. I love that. No, that's something. It's funny. The second you said that, that question rang in my head. Where there's so many leaders out there, and it's ego driven. It's like, oh, I'm top of the ladder. They want to run it with an iron fist. But to your point of the relationship, the connection, the rapport, I think a business, a company, a corporation, whatever it is, a sports team runs so much better when everyone's connected on the same page. Yes, there's a captain. Yes, there's a leader. Yes, there's a boss. And it's not to say, oh, they're on a higher level. Yes, to an extent in a corporate perspective, but we're all people. We're all made of the same makeup, emotions, spirit, the whole nine yards, the mindset. And when you can connect to someone on a real personal level, they become that much better and a major piece of the team because they realize they're heard. To your point of communication, to your point of asking questions and listening, for that matter.
Yeah, and I always say it, like, if you walk into an organization, right, there's very few that I would say are failing,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? What I would say is, can you imagine if people in your organization loved coming to work,
Yeah. Right.
what level and how much higher of a level your organization would operate at
Mm,
if they weren't looking at, like, hey, I got to be there at 9. Oh, it's 4:30. It's time to go, right? And they were walking out the door, but they gave a little bit more,
yeah.
right? They engaged their peers a little bit more. They
Mhm.
collaborated a little bit more. They were not afraid to share new ideas because, right, they weren't going to get beat down for sharing
Mhm.
something that was completely against maybe what you thought. So,
Right.
I think that's one thing I always think about is, like, can you imagine,
Mm.
like, how much more successful you would be as a team if you just put your ego aside and let your team go with it?
Yeah. I'm gonna clip that. That's gonna be something we post because that's an impactful question. Like that, seriously, Jason, such an empowering question. When you've brought that to an organization or a leader, what are some responses you get from those leaders or those teams to that question?
I think that most are very receptive.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Good.
when I leave the organization or I leave the team, right, like,
Yep.
you never know, but I think that most are very receptive.
Mm.
I think when they look at what they can do to take their teams to a next level, to be even more successful, like, most are open to those ideas.
Yeah.
Most, and what I have noticed too is I don't think people go into a job thinking, like, I want to screw this up,
Yeah.
right? Like, I want to be the worst leader I could ever be.
Hmm.
I think most go into it, two things. One, we haven't done a really good job of developing a lot of leaders
Yep.
in a lot of way, right? Like, we promote them based off of how well they did in their job, maybe
Mm.
how skilled they were, but we haven't given them the tools that they need to be successful. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of coaching, a
Yep.
little mentoring, a little development, and saying, like, look, here's how we do this on this journey.
Hmm.
Because when you go to them and say, hey, like, your team hates you,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't think they look at it and be like, who cares?
Yeah.
Most of them are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was doing that.
I believe it. Yep.
Right.
Right. Hence the transparency piece earlier.
Right. That's exactly
Exactly.
right.
100%.
It's funny, right? I'll share this little bit of tidbit. I get into much deeper detail in the book, but
Yep.
I talk about feedback.
Hmm.
I talk about the connection with your team. And so, the best feedback I ever received was, earlier in my career, my direct reports, I would take them to lunch.
Yep.
And I took one of my number two, my direct report to lunch, and I was like, okay. And they always knew, right? I was going to give them feedback on, hey, here are the things I think you're doing well. I'm more focused on, here's one or two things that I really love you to work on over the next, 30, 60, 90 days. What can I do better?
Yeah.
She ripped out a book of 8 pages of
Okay.
all the things I could do better. And I was like, oh my gosh. But what I realized is that I had created this relationship with her where she really cared about not just me and how I could get better,
Mhm.
but how to make our team better.
Right.
And it started with the leader.
Yeah.
And if you haven't created those relationships where people are willing to bring you, hey, like, you do things this way. If
Mm.
you do it this way, you might get more out of the team. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful.
For sure. See, I really like that because I now I'm running through my own personal experiences in the past, whether back working in the therapy field on teams and everything like that, and or working with individuals or families, whatever it is. And something that just became a skill set of mine was I was out of college, low man on the totem pole, fully willing to talk to the supervisors, the owners, the bosses of this company, where I would ask a certain question or call them out on something because, like, hey, this would make us better. Let's just talk about it. And all the coworkers like, I don't know, you can't say that. But I'm like, why? Like, shouldn't we bring up what's actually going or what they're doing that's impacting us? Like, you got to be open to it. You got to be, so for this woman, as you just said, to say it to you, it's like, oh boy, but at the same time, oh boy, like this can help me. This can help me grow.
And it really helped me over the next, the rest of my career
Yeah.
to think about, very deliberate about what I could do to be better and
Yeah.
not make those mistakes or things again.
Right. Exactly. No, that's awesome, Jason. I love that. I want to be respectful of your time, so I want to kind of bring it back to the book right now. It's about to release, correct? So when will this be out there for people, for that matter?
Yeah, so February 5th, we are
Cool.
we're finishing all of the final things. This week we're working on the ebook, and then
Okay.
it just really becomes marketing with the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and into January. So there'll
Yeah.
probably be some type of pre-sale in January, but it'll launch on February 5th.
See, I love it. So now that we're aware of that being at the time of this recording, guys, November 18th, so right before Thanksgiving. But Jason, I would love to have you back on here so we can, whether it's about to release or wait around releases, to one, put more eyes on it for that matter, but two, to dive deeper into it because there's so much here. And I only wanted to breach the surface for people so that they can like really understand it and look for it themselves. But to all the key points you gave us in this interview right now, it's so impactful. It, as you said, trust, humility, purpose. If any story you have in this book causes someone to grow with just one of those stories, mission accomplished.
That's
But
right.
for them to really absorb it, dive into it, to look at themselves, absorb the information, but observe in themselves, how can this help me? That's how we should be reading a book like this for listeners and viewers right now. So I appreciate it, Jason. I love it. As we start to close this whole thing out right here, I always like to ask last two questions. One, where can people find you? I know your website's about to go live, probably tonight for that matter, but tell us your links. Are you on social media, LinkedIn? What's your website? Where can we find you?
Yeah, I am. I'm on LinkedIn, Jason Kulchar, and then also on the website. The website will launch tonight,
Awesome.
thecultureshift.com.
Cool. Okay.
And very excited about that. It'll have the upcoming book link on
Yep.
there once the
Perfect.
book launches. So it'll also give an insight into kind of what I can do for you.
I love that. So, guys, you just heard right there. If you go to our YouTube description, you're going to see a link to Jason's LinkedIn for that. Go add him, go connect with him, ask him questions about whether his work. Maybe you work for an organization, you'd love to bring Jason in. Maybe you want to learn more about the book. Reach out to him, connect, ask a question. And also, too, check out his website. And I'm glad you just said, Jason, there's going to be a link to that book. Because sometimes I know people have their website and then they have a whole nother link to the book and a whole different website for that matter. But people can go right there and find it. As you said, February 5th is the target date right now.
That's
Correct?
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. So we can go find that. But one final question, Jason, before we close the whole thing out. What is a lasting message you want to leave with viewers right now? Whether it's a story, whether it's a message, a personal quote, what do you think people need to hear before we kind of put the period on this interview?
I think that leadership is easy.
Mm,
Leadership is fun.
yeah.
I think when you focus on the team and the people of the organization and teamwork, and bringing positivity,
Yep.
fun, and
Yep.
just being kind makes all the
Yeah.
difference in the world.
Right? See, I like that. Essentially put people first, put yourself first with the people, not ego driven, but people driven. I think that's the mark of a true great leader. So I agree with that. I appreciate that. But Jason, I thank you so much for your time today. And like I said, everyone, you can go look. You're about to see the credits roll for all of Jason's links, but go to our YouTube description, click right on them, go add Jason, go look at his website. At the time of this video, it's going to be live. But if I thank you guys for tuning in, please like this message on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button below. Share it to someone who you feel might need to hear it. As I mentioned, I got friends that are veterans as much who are stepping into the leadership world. I know they can benefit from Jason's book. They can benefit from this interview. I know I'm going to send it to them just to support. If at any point someone popped into your mind that you can lend a hand to, share it to them. At the end of the day, it's not even to help Jason. It's not to help Billy. It's to help someone else out with the information. It's why we put it out there. Lend a hand, share it to them, and maybe that sparks them for something else in their life. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. The time of this video, as I saw, we just broke 35,000 and we're closing in on 40,000, hopefully by the end of the year, guys. So let's make that our target. Please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. And if you're in need of a coach to help in any of the areas discussed today or any of the areas touched on this channel, guys, head to BillyGLifeCoaching.com. You can set up a free call with me, a free breakthrough session, and we'll dive into whatever it might be for yourself. But I thank you guys for tuning in. Jason, once again, it's been an absolute blast. I cannot wait to have you on again right before that book actually launches. But let's dive into it again. I thank you for being here.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Of course. I love it, guys. Have a good one, guys.
I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even have a deal. Yeah, I battle through these bars, yeah, I always bunk a hill. I know that any city I go in, that I be flyer than Logan, and I be flying high. I want this shit pumping here all the way to Shanghai. And my name's not Joe, but I'm not your average guy. I be killing it, east side rapping cause I'm writing where I'm from. And I know for hella sure that I'm right with what I done. In a minute I'ma win it, chilling with all these women. It's a dream I've been chasing and I'm never gonna pace it. This is something really got lost in. Everybody said no and now they all want it.